I wanted to agree with a lot of things you said tonight, and I appreciate the fact that we do have the open dialogue.
I agree with you. Thank you.
But we're contemporaries, and I went to Ole Miss, and I remember in the days when you couldn't have been mistaken for St. Francis of Assisi, I assure you.
You're right.
And when we invited Bobby Kennedy to speak on campus, he got a reception very much like you're getting tonight. When Yale,
cordial?
Yes, very much so. We
good.
laughed at his jokes, we applauded, and the news media was looking for something to happen when it didn't. Yale University at the same time had invited George Wallace, who was governor of Alabama at the time, and because of all the protests, the invitation was withdrawn. So Mississippi is considered the closed society. You were a member of a fifth column that was trying to destroy this country against academic freedom that you are saying for tonight. Now, you're a slow learner, or I was sorry to hear the applause for your cut on Fox News, because I think we finally have a news organization that is actually giving a fair and balanced approach. People who are diametrically opposed here tonight on the conservative side are not objecting to your being here. But yet, when as the previous questioner asked, when Ann Coulter comes, the liberals like to throw food and protest and shout her down, and she has to leave. So what are your thoughts on continuing the academic freedom, and are you repentant of what you did back in those days when only through the grace of God that you don't believe in, did you not kill people?
Yeah, well, Ann Coulter, first of all, I don't think, I agreed with you that she should not be shouted down, food should not be thrown at her, and I actually think that that's not her general experience. I know for a fact that she speaks every week, often on campuses, and she makes a darn good living doing it, so I wouldn't worry too much about Ann. In terms of Fox News, it's like everything else. I'm not saying you shouldn't watch parts of it or, watch the Super Bowl. Was that on Fox? I think it was. Absolutely. But you should also get other opinions. You should get other ways of looking. So I think one of the great things about today, even as the press is in decline, even as the mainstream, kind of bought media is declining, I think one of the great things is you have access through the internet to all kinds of other sources. And it's up to us, individually and collectively, to demand those other sources, to not rely on one outlet. So I was just joking about Fox News. I think you should go ahead and watch it. I also think you should watch other things, and I don't mean by that simply CNN or MSNBC. I mean, get online and read what they're saying in other countries. Read opinions from all over the place, and have a mind of your own. I remember when my father was in the last years of his life and he lived with us, I would come home from work, and he was demented. He had Alzheimer's, but still a lovely, lovely guy right to the end. And he had been a big businessman in Chicago, and we were an unlikely couple in some ways, but very close. And I would come home, and I'd walk into the house, he'd have Fox News on at full volume. He was a little hard of hearing, so he had it all the way up. And I'd say, Dad, turn this off, man, come on, it's too noisy. And he'd say, what do these queers want? Geez, Dad, calm down. So I said, they don't want to marry you. And, it was that kind of dialogue. But I'm not saying don't listen to Fox. I'm saying don't. In terms of being repentant, again, you should read Fugitive Days and see if I'm repentant enough. I'm not a religious person, so repentance isn't exactly. And then the question of what do we want apologies to do? What is it we want, I've said that we broke the law, that we crossed lines of propriety and common sense and decency in many ways. So what else do we want to accomplish with this? If you want me to say I was wrong about the war, I don't believe I was wrong. And therefore, I can't say it in conscience. You disagree with me. That's okay. We can argue that out. We can read about it. We can talk about it. We can have a study group about it. But it's not, I have a hard time sometimes figuring out what people want me to apologize for if I don't feel sorry for it. And I do not feel sorry for my opposition to the Vietnam War. I don't feel a bit of remorse for my opposition to the war in Iraq, a war of choice, or Afghanistan. Both wars of choice, both catastrophes for us and for the world. Thanks very much. I'm going to let just the folks who are up here go, and then I'm going to stop. Is that okay? 7 more? Okay, cool. Yes, sir.
I'm Lucky.
Your name's Lucky? Okay.
No.
Oh.
I'm Ifad. I'm Ifad from Bangladesh.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
Feeling the pressure?
I'm sorry?
Feeling the pressure?
Not even a little.
Okay, great.
I'm feeling great. Are you going to give me some pressure?
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
So, I've been here, it's not been about 2 years now, it's been 1 year something. Now, some of the interesting things that I have observed after coming here, one of them is that there are a lot of people in this country who are known as intellectuals, and they say a lot of things that don't even pass the crap test. The CRAAP test. Now, they go on TV, they talk on radio and stuff like that. But most worrying of all is that is the state of university students sometimes. Say, for an example, when you mention things like communism, environment, Islam, these words seem to come with certain connotations, and people immediately take a stance that's closed and defensive. Some people haven't even, these people who take these stands, they haven't even read the Communist Manifesto, or don't even know that Christianity, Judaism, Islam, these are all Western religions, software upgrades of the same God. Now, how do you account for that as an educator? Is it the failure of the education system here? That's my question to you.
Yes, I think it's the failure of the education system, but I think the education system fails on so many levels. One is, it is true that if you have an education from somewhere other than here, you tend to know more stuff about history and geography and science and so on. It's just true. In the main, that's why we slip on these standardized tests. But there's something much more fundamental to me, and that is we are not in the habit of asking questions. So suddenly our attention is drawn to Egypt, but we don't have questions about it. We're just whatever. We're fascinated with it suddenly. We're either with the people in Tahrir Square, or we're with Mubarak, or we're with somebody, but we don't even know what we're talking about in terms of the political parties, the process, how it got where it is. What was France's role? What was Great Britain's? What does the Suez Canal have to do with it? All of these things are questions, and I don't need to know the answers to those questions to know that without asking them, we remain in the dark. We remain ignorant. And I think in a democracy, I talked earlier about, being able to create in students imagination, curiosity, initiative, courage. That comes when you're a teacher who can ask questions, not always have the right answers, but ask the questions. And I'll give you two quick examples of question asking as good teaching. During the Civil Rights Movement in 1963, a young volunteer for SNCC named Charlie Cobb